People say you are being lazy if you pray lying down. Religious tradition tells us that unless you are on your knees, hands folded, head bowed, you are being disrespectful to the Creator of the universe. But what if I told you that is a lie? What if I told you that one of the most powerful, earth-shattering prayers in the entire Bible happened while a man was flat on his back? He didn't kneel, he didn't stand, he didn't even go to the temple, and yet God didn't just hear him, he answered him instantly. If you have ever felt guilty for praying from your bed, or if you've ever wondered why your late-night thoughts feel louder than your Sunday morning prayers, you need to hear this, because the truth isn't about your posture, it's about a secret regarding how God listens that almost nobody talks about. Let's go back to Jerusalem, roughly 700 years before Christ. We enter the royal chambers of King Hezekiah. This isn't just a man having a bad day. This is a man facing his end. He is sick, his body is failing, and the greatest prophet of his time, Isaiah, has just walked into the room to deliver the final verdict. Isaiah doesn't sugarcoat it. He looks at the king and says, "Put your house in order, because you are going to die. You will not recover." Imagine the weight of those words. No hope, no medical miracle, no second opinion. The mouthpiece of God has spoken. It is over. Now, religious protocol would dictate that Hezekiah should get up, put on his royal robes, go to the temple, summon the priests, and offer a sacrifice. He should show God his piety. But he can't. He is too weak. He is too broken. So what does he do? 2 Kings 20, verse 2, gives us a detail that is so small you might miss it, but it changes everything. Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. He didn't get out of bed. He didn't kneel. He literally just turned his face to the wall. Why the wall? Because the wall represents privacy. It represents isolation. By turning to the wall, he was shutting out the world. He was shutting out the bad news, the doctors, the kingdom, and the expectations. It was just him and God. And from that position, lying flat, staring at a blank wall, he poured out his soul. He wept bitterly. And here is the shocking part. Isaiah hadn't even made it to the middle court of the palace. He hadn't even left the building yet. God interrupted his own prophet. God said, "Turn around, go back, tell Hezekiah I have heard his prayer, I have seen his tears, I will heal him." God added 15 years to his life. Do you understand what just happened? A prayer from a bed, delivered without any religious ceremony, was answered faster than almost any other prayer in Scripture. God didn't say, "Isaiah, wait, tell him to get on his knees first." God responded to the desperation, not the position.
Why is the bed such a powerful place for prayer? Have you ever thought about it? The bed is where we are most human. It is where we are born. It is where we sleep. It is where we heal when we are sick. And for most of us, it is where we will eventually die. When you are standing in public, you have your armor on, your posture, your social mask. But when you are in bed, the armor is off. The mask is down. You are vulnerable. Look at Jacob in Genesis 47. This was a man who spent his youth wrestling angels and tricking family members. He was a fighter, but at the end of his life, verse 31 tells us, Israel worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. Some translations say he worshipped on the head of his bed. He was too frail to stand. He needed a prop just to stay upright. Did God reject his worship? Did God say, "Jacob, you're being lazy"? No. because God knew that Jacob's physical weakness was actually allowing his spiritual strength to shine through.
We have to talk about the Pharisee trap. This is the mindset that has infected so much of modern religion. The Pharisees were obsessed with optics. They treated prayer like a performance art. Jesus called them out in Matthew 6:5. He said, "They love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others." Notice what Jesus is critiquing here. He isn't criticizing the standing. He is criticizing the motive. They weren't standing to honor God. They were standing so their neighbors would say, "Wow, look how spiritual he is." God is not impressed by your choreography. He is not keeping a scorecard of how many minutes you spend on your knees versus your back. That is a human invention. That is religion trying to control a relationship. When you pray lying down, especially in the dark, who are you performing for? No one, nobody can see you. There is no applause, there is no spiritual credit. It is just you and the Father. And that authenticity is exactly what God is craving.
This brings us to King David. If anyone knew how to pray correctly, it was David. He wrote the Psalms. He established the worship in the tabernacle. But listen to what he wrote in Psalm 63:6. "On my bed I remember you. I think of you through the watches of the night." David wasn't just praying before he went to sleep. He was praying through the sleep. He was waking up in those quiet, liminal hours, the watches of the night, and connecting with God from his mattress. There is actually a psychological reason for this. When you are lying down, drifting between wakefulness and sleep, your brain enters a state where your conscious defenses are lowered. Your ego is asleep. The barriers you put up during the day to protect your heart are gone. In that state, you can't lie to God. You can't fake it. Have you ever noticed that your prayers at 2 a.m. are different from your prayers at 2 p.m.? At 2 p.m., you pray for your lunch, for your meeting, for safety in traffic. It's functional. But at 2 a.m., that's when you pray about your fears. That's when you pray about your children's future. That's when you confess the sins you're too ashamed to talk about in the light. Psalm 4:4 actually gives this as an instruction. When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent. God designed the bed to be a place of spiritual search. He designed the horizontal position to be a position of reflection.
Let's look at one more witness, Hannah. In 1 Samuel 1, Hannah is in the temple, but she isn't following the protocol. She is so wrecked by the pain of her infertility that she can't even get the words out. She is weeping. Her lips are moving, but no voice is heard. She is trembling. The priest, Eli, the religious leader, looks at her and thinks she is drunk. Why? Because her prayer didn't look like a prayer. It looked like a mess. It lacked the structure, the volume, and the dignity of a proper prayer. But while the priest saw a drunk woman, God saw a desperate daughter. And God answered that messy prayer by giving her a son, Samuel, who would go on to change the history of Israel. The pattern is undeniable. God responds to sincerity, not posture.
So what does this mean for you tonight? It means you can stop the guilt trip. Maybe you are watching this and you suffer from chronic pain. Maybe kneeling physically hurts you.
Does God love your prayers any less? Absolutely not. Maybe you are a mother who is exhausted after chasing toddlers for 14 hours. The only quiet moment you have is when your head hits the pillow. Is that prayer lazy? No, that is your offering. Or maybe you are battling depression, and some days you just can't get out of bed. The heaviness is too much. In those moments, turning your face to the wall and whispering, "God help me," is an act of spiritual warfare. Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 12:9 that God's power is made perfect in weakness. When you are lying down, you are physically acknowledging your limit. You are stopping your activity. You are ceasing your striving. You are saying, "God, I am stopping. I am resting, and I am trusting you to work while I rest." That is faith.
I want you to try something tonight. When you get into bed, don't just scroll on your phone until you pass out. Put the phone away. Lay there in the dark. Close your eyes and just talk to Him. Don't worry about the words. Don't worry about the position. Just bring your heart. And I want to know, what is the most unusual place or position you've been in when God answered a prayer? Was it in bed? In a car? Maybe hiding in a bathroom break at work? Scroll down and leave a comment with your story. Your testimony might be the exact thing someone else needs to read to stop feeling guilty and start praying again. If this message freed you from religious guilt today, hit that like button and subscribe to Bible Undefeated. We are here to break religious myths and bring you back to the raw truth of the Scripture. Remember, God isn't checking your posture. He's checking your pulse. He wants your heart. Go ahead, pray lying down. Just pray.